So, namaste, dear brothers and sisters. On behalf of the Indian section, I welcome all of you to today's session on Mahatma letters. Today, we will begin the study of chronological letters number 115, 116, and 117. And the study will be directed by Brother N.C. Krishna, International Lecturer of the Theosophical Society, Adyar, and National Lecturer of the Indian section. So let us begin this session with the universal prayer. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom, O hidden light, shining in every creature, O hidden love, embracing all in oneness, may each who feels himself as one with thee know he is also one with every other. Thank you. So I welcome you, sir, to our session today and request you to begin the session.
Yes. Good evening, brethren. This is letter number 93 as per Barker edition, which Brother Mahapatra, Pradeep Mahapatra wanted me to study and then go to the other two letters which are relatively small. So I am doing this program from Adyar because tomorrow I have some Masonic work here. So I have come here one day in advance because I didn't get train accommodation today. So I started last night and came here. So I'm doing this from the Ledbetter Chambers lounge room. I hope everything is all right. Audibility and visibility, etc., etc. Yes. Coming to the brass tacks, letter number 93. We'll begin with the description of the letter as per the reader's guide to Mahatma's letters or master's letters. And this book has been compiled by Brother George E. Linton, who used to work on the campus as the manager of the maintenance department or in charge of constructions and all that, and Madam Virginia Hanson. So this has been the book which has been referred to very regularly by a lot of students to understand the circumstances under which this letter was written, what's the nature of the letter, etc. So the book says this particular letter has been written on 19 sheets of white paper, 19 sheets of white paper written on one side. It's not on both sides, one side, so roughly about 9 pages on both sides. And this letter is written in medium-sized script. Normally, bold letters is what we have been told, but this letter has been written in the medium-sized script, and it's written mostly in medium blue ink. It's not dark blue or it's not light blue. It's medium blue ink which was used by Master. And the contents of the letter are dealing with the Kiddle controversy, and those portions which are being dealt by Master regarding this Kiddle controversy have been underlined. They are found in pages 12, 13, and 14 of his letter. And after the underlining, interestingly, he completed the letter in red ink. So except for the page 14, at the bottom, the letter is written in fine script. Everything is written on one side of the white paper. That's how we understand. At the time of receiving this letter, Mr. Sinnett was in London, participating actively in the theosophical work. Both the founders of TS were in India, and Master KH is answering the charge of plagiarism leveled against him by Henry Kiddle and other American spiritualists. Master deals at length to serve the need of Mr. Sinnett and others. And Master KH says he found or perceived that Epicene was quite disturbed and troubled by the charge of plagiarism, copying in toto or lifting the ideas and sentences of somebody else who has written and not giving due credit to that person and owning it as mine. That is plagiarism. And that charge was leveled against KH. Mr. Sinnett was quite worried. And that worried AP Sinnett no end, says the letter. So AP Sinnett talked about this many times to C.C. Massey, who was one of the American spiritualists. And it is said he was not actually sympathizing with Master KH. There was always a charge that he is not made a chela and things like that. So even here, Mr. Sinnett was not sympathizing with Master KH, but has a doubt. And he talked about whether KH has really lifted those lines. This is how he went on inquiring with a lot of people, including Massey. So the number of conversations he has had with Massey particularly proves that Sinnett was wanting to find out what was the truth. What was the truth? And is the charge real? This is the doubt Sinnett has. And Master is fully aware of what exactly is happening in the heart of Mr. Sinnett. And he says, I would have never given an explanation normally, but now I'm giving, as you are talking to all about this controversy. Master observes that Sinnett, in his letter to Master KH, has also mentioned it, touched upon the subject, and called it the wretched little Kiddle incident. This is what A.P. Sinnett wrote in his letter to Master KH. Master says, I cannot remain without telling you the truth. It will be cruel on my part, says the Master. I cannot remain without telling you the truth. It will be cruel on my part if I do so. That is, if I remain silent on the subject. So, if the reply reaches the prejudiced, not so well disposed spiritualists, it will be a folly. So, if A.P. Sinnett shares the information with the spiritualists, it will be a mistake, says the Master. So, if the reply reaches the prejudiced and not so well disposed spiritualists, it will be a folly, it will be a mistake. Spiritualists are all ill disposed towards us and TS. Us meaning masters and TS. So Master says he would ask Mr. Ward, W-A-R-D, Ward, who is a confidant of Master KH, and both Mr. Ward and KH were very intimate. So he says, Mr. Ward will hold the information for me, and both you and Ward should pledge not to explain to anyone without specific permission from me. This is the direction given by the Master to both Ward and Sinnett. They can't talk of the facts I'm mentioning now. You will not reveal to even Mr. Oxon or C.C. Massey. M.A. Oxon, his quotations are there in the Key to Theosophy also. He's a very senior spiritualist. And C.C. Massey, both are from America, spiritualists. And Master says, you should not even discuss with them. You should understand why I am taking the pledge from you and Mr. Ward. Master says, if someone forces you to tell something, Master says, if someone forces you to tell something, you may answer the way the psychological mystery was explained to me, and that's all. And some others, still if they insist, you may add that the parallel passages cannot be called plagiarism. Parallel passages cannot be called plagiarism. This is what Master told these two. Master says, I give you full permission to say what you like and tell them as to why I withheld the facts from the general public. You may use any explanation, but I have held it, the information from the general public. This is something which you can share. Most of the London members, the fellows of the Theosophical Society, may know along with you, and few others also may know. Few others also may know who are members of the TS, or maybe they're sympathizers like that. And then he says, Master says, I'm not forcing you to defend my reputation. See, this is what he's asking, or he's telling Mr. Senator. I'm not asking you to defend my reputation. That's not your duty, says the Master. Unless you feel you are absolutely satisfied that you have clearly, beyond doubt, understood the explanation I have given. So unless you feel you are satisfied completely, that you have understood completely what I'm giving as an explanation, you don't have to talk about it, you don't have to defend me, etc., etc. This is what he has told the Master, the Senate, Mr. Senate, I'm sorry. Blavatsky says in one of the quotations, lie flows down the hill faster, whereas the truth has to climb up the hill. So this is exactly what happens. A lot of times we must have observed in our own lives, false propaganda takes a winning stride quickly. The ultimate truth is revealed or made known to everyone. The impact is not so profound. The impact of truth is not so profound, but the person who has done whatever he knows is truthful, he is happy about it. So this is something which we need to keep in mind. So he asks, Master asks Mr. Senate to understand the explanation completely, thoroughly. And if your friends prefer to call me an ugly plagiarist, plagiarism is done by a plagiarist, I prefer it. I will tell you why. If your friends call me an ugly plagiarist, I prefer it. I'll tell you why. Master says, personally, I am indifferent to the charge. Personally, I am indifferent to the charge. It doesn't affect me at all. For your sake and for the sake of TS, I will try to clear the black clouds of doubt and clear the horizon to enable you to see the truth. This is the words or description of Master KH to Senate. For your sake and for the sake of TS, I will try to clear the black clouds of doubt and clear the horizon to enable you to see the truth. Your Western scholars or pundits will say KH is a well-settled or confirmed plagiarist. So they say that, they will say that. I know. Let them say, says Master. Master says, I don't mind what enemies call me, using sometimes, they use these descriptions sometimes sarcastically and repeatedly, calling names like sophist. They say, he thinks he's a sophist, means person with a lot of knowledge. Myth, he's a myth, is another way of describing. And he's a man of lower intelligence. This again is another way of disparagingly talking about Master KH. I am indifferent to all this, says the Master. So whatever may be their description of me sarcastically, I am not much concerned about it. So left to himself, he wouldn't have perhaps gone into the explanation as to why this charge has been leveled against him and all that. But he says, this gentleman, Senate himself, is doubting. So it is to clear his doubt and also to help the various people who are thinking or not so well disposed towards the TS and the masters. He would like to do this work of explaining what it is. In the case of Master KH, The charge was he was alleged to be an adept. Alleged means he's not an adept, but he's alleging, or somebody calls him adept. He's not real adept. He's not adept in the real sense of the term, according to the spiritualists. He's so-called adept. That's how they describe him. So KH says he read the article published in the magazine, The Banner of Light, which belongs to the spiritualists, and where Henry Kindle has written an article in that. And they say because of his limited brain, they call Mr. KH or Master as a man of limited brain. So KH lifted the words from the article of this Henry Kindle. So this is the charge. Master KH says that the adepts were only one of them knows English, cannot be expected to lift ideas of an article, that too from the magazine, The Banner of Light, because not normally they go through that magazine. So that too from the Banner of Light that I have lifted. And I don't know so much English because that's the description they have. Actually speaking, the let us say most of the time, of the two, KH is better versed in English, but spiritualists feel perhaps the English which the masters know is little and what they know is more. So one of them only knows English, or so that man cannot be expected to lift the ideas, lift the sentences of an article, that too from the Banner of Light, the magazine of the spiritualists. The spiritualists charged that Master KH has stolen passages from Mr. Kindle and used some words which were convenient to him, omitted words which were not convenient. And even the words taken, the original intentions of Kindle were distorted. The original intentions of the words or the meaning of the words were distorted to suit KH's purpose. So this is the charge. Master KH has stolen the passages from Mr. Kindle and used some words which were convenient to him, omitted certain words which are not convenient to him means master, and even the words taken by the master, the original intentions of Mr. Kindle were distorted, were twisted to suit Master KH's purpose. This is what the spiritualists are talking about. So this is a serious charge that he has lifted the sentences and ideas from the article of Mr. Henry Kindle. KH goes about saying, Master KH goes about saying, what is plagiarism? He says, is it borrowing ideas or using the words and sentences ditto? Is that plagiarism? Or KH wonders if the accusers know what constitutes plagiarism. Do they know what exactly it means? The people who are charging him of plagiarism, do they know what exactly it means? If they knew, then he is acquitted of his charges. Why? Because he says borrowed ideas, their meaning and intentions, if they have been bettered, borrowed ideas, if their meanings have been bettered or improved upon, it is not plagiarism. This was said not by anyone but by Milton, the famous author. So Master quotes Milton and says, if the borrowed ideas, their meaning and intentions have been improved upon or bettered, it is not plagiarism. So Master KH says it is not plagiarism according to Milton, who wrote Paradise Gained and Paradise Lost. Most of you know about that. As accused, Master KH is not well versed in English, he has used the sentences of Kiddle and expressed as his own. This is the accusation, again repeated this place. As accused, KH is not well versed in English, again they say this, and he has used the sentences of Kiddle and expressed as his own, KH's own. That was the line of argument of the spiritualists. So there was a big controversy in those days. Master KH says his words, sentences, were used by the editor of the Theosophist, because this letter which he dictated or something went into the Theosophist magazine. So Master KH says his words, his sentences were used by the editor of the Theosophist. In this case, HPB went almost mad when she heard of the accusation of plagiarism against Master KH. So this letter appeared, and the editor of the Theosophist magazine is the president actually. But in this case, Madam Blavatsky went almost mad when she heard of the accusation of the charge of plagiarism against Master KH. Master KH, he would try to explain facts which are very puzzling. Master says he would try to explain facts which are puzzling, very puzzling, and the psychological mystery actually. So this is what, if you remember, he says this is a psychological mystery, you can talk about it, but don't talk anything else. That's what he wanted Ward and Mr. Sinnett to talk about. So he says it's a psychological mystery. The solution to this is simple, says Master. The solution to this is simple, says Master. But then he says, I laughed when my attention was drawn to this charge. I laughed when the attention of mine was drawn to this charge. But the charge of plagiarism has given pain to some of my true friends. He was indifferent to it, but some of his friends were quite pained by the charge. So this is what Master is saying. I laughed when my attention was drawn to the charge, because he knows that it is not correct, and so he was laughing at it. The charge was not real, and the charge of plagiarism has given pain to some of his friends, says Master at this stage. And Master says the letter in question, which had appeared in the Theosophist, framed by him or composed by him while he was traveling on a horseback. The letter in question, which appeared in the magazine The Theosophist, was framed by him, was arranged by him while he was, or dictated by him while he was traveling on a horseback. It was dictated mentally. It was dictated mentally, and it was precipitated by a young chela. It was precipitated by a young chela who was new to the subject of psychic chemistry. So the new chela, the young chela, was new to this subject of psychic chemistry, and he dictated the letter or the article to him, that young chela. So that chela had to transcribe from not so clearly visible material or imprint. That chela had to transcribe from not so clearly visible imprint, and in the process, half the letter was omitted. Half the letter was omitted. In fact, all the remarks of the Master KH were omitted, and only the sentences of Kiddle appeared. So half the letter was omitted by the new chela. When chela asked me, he did ask him before saying this, I have done this, but is it all right? So chela asked me whether I would like to correct. I confess that I answered him casually, and he says imprudently. I answered the chela casually and imprudently. And I said to chela, if one skips few words here and there, it's not of great importance. If one skips few words, skips means omits few words here and there, it's not of great importance. Due to continuous travel on a horseback for 48 hours, and due to other pressing urgent work which he had to do, which was of greater importance. I did not pay attention to this letter, says the master. And I was also tired and I slept off. And when I woke up from my sleep, I found that the letter has already gone. The letter in question was transcribed by the Pela and reached the editor. That's what Master KH is saying. Master says, I was not expecting, Master says, I was not expecting that this letter would get published in the Theosophist. So this is what Master is saying. He casually said something about it to the Chela. The Chela transcribed it half, the other he could not perhaps receive it well and could not write it clearly. And so only the sentences which Kiddle mentioned, perhaps they were the things which were written in that letter which was sent to the editor of the Theosophist. And they appeared, that letter appeared, and he says, I was not expecting that the letter would appear as a piece in the Theosophist. And I did not think much about that letter, says Master KH. Master never thought that was something worth printable. That's what he means. Master KH says, I have not known Mr. Kiddle. This is interesting. KH says, I have not known Mr. Kiddle, Henry Kiddle, how he looked in his appearance, where he lived, what he did for existence, etc. I did not know his name too. I did not know his name too. Later on, yes, they said it's Kiddle. His version was copied by Master KH. But I don't know him too. This is what know him. I don't know him by name. I don't know him by appearance. I don't know where he lives. And also, I don't know what he does for his living. So I don't know his name too. This is rather interesting because a person, normally we copy someone who perhaps is well known in the market, and I don't know him at all. This is what Master is saying. He's completely unknown person to me, says Master. That Henry Kiddle is completely unknown person to me, says the Master. And Master KH says now, he casually looked at one of the annual camps of the American spiritualists. They can go anywhere, watch anything they want. So Master says, I casually attended or saw an annual camp for the American spiritualists, which was held at Lake Mount Pleasant. And now, incidentally, Master is saying something about American spiritualists. He's saying the American spiritualists are not progressing, but they are moving backwards. Master is saying American spiritualists are not progressing, but are going backwards, says Master KH. And then he says, while he attended that camp, he heard some sentences spoken in the lectures, not actually remembering who said what. I heard some sentences, I heard some words, but I don't know who said all that. So I heard some sentences spoken in the lectures, not actually remembering who said what. I heard the sentences and was not aware who pronounced those sentences or ideas, says Master KH. So for a person who is not completely, not even aware of the person who has said that or who said that, and he is charged that so and so's words you have picked up. So this is what he is saying. I heard some sentences spoken in the lectures, not actually remembering who said what. I heard the sentences and was not aware who pronounced those sentences or ideas, says Master KH. And so I have been charged of plagiarism. I have defrauded the lecturer. That's what they say. And that person, Henry Kiddle, was making much noise about it, says Master KH. though I did take notice of the sentences innocently. Innocently because I don't know he said that. So I took notice of the sentences innocently, not knowing who said it. I never knew it was Henry Kiddle who talked about it or who talked those sentences. Master says, I did not dictate the letter. Master says, I did not dictate the letter in the form in which it appears in the Theosophist. I have not quoted, not used inverted commas. Then, if I had used inverted commas, quoted them, then it would look like that I lifted the sentences and Mr. Kiddle is right. So I did not do any of those things. I did not use the inverted commas. I did not copy sentence by sentence. I did not even say I quote this. So this is what Master is saying. I did not lift the sentences or words from Kiddle's article, which was published in the magazine, The Banner of Light, and one more magazine of the Spiritualists. Master K. says, I have not done of what I'm accused about. What is he accused about? Plagiarism. He says, I have not been doing all that. I did not even quote, leave alone plagiarizing. Okay. Plagiarism. The person who does it is called plagiarist. So I did not do that. I did not believe in that. Master is trying to explain what is precipitation. He is trying to explain this to Mr. Sinnett, or mental telegraphy. He's saying this to Mr. Sinnett, what exactly it means. He's quoting the journal published by the Psychic Research Society says, thought transference, if it is cumulatively affected, even if the figures like geometrical figures which the transferer thought has been figured in the brain of the person who is receiving it, or they get gradually printed on the recipient brain, then it is mental telegraphy, or whatever we say as precipitation. So he quotes an article from the Psychic Research Society. These people were much against us, but he's using that particular description of that mental telegraphy. He says, the thought transference, if it is cumulatively affected, totally if it is affected, even if the figures like geometrical figures, which the transferer of thought has figured in his brain, gets gradually imprinted on the receiver's brain, then it is mental telegraphy or precipitation. Master says that there are two factors which are very important to produce a perfect mental telegraphy. Master says there are two factors which are very much needed to produce perfect mental telegraphy. One, the concentration of the operator. And this, number two, the complete receptive and passivity of the recipient. The recipient is not supposed to use his intelligence and change here and there. He should be passively receiving it. So one, the concentration of the operator. Second, the complete receptive and passivity of the recipient. They are the two things which are very much required to see that the precipitation or mental telegraphy is successful. If either of them, that means either the person who is transferring or the person who is receiving, if either of them are disturbed, the psychic current is broken. If either of them are disturbed, the psychic current is broken. The concentration of the transferer is broken, or the person who is receiving it is not receiving it, rather passively, maybe he is actively doing something at that point of time. If that is the thing which is taking place, the psychic current is broken. If either of them, the transferer or the transferee, are disturbed, the psychic current is broken. And the communication becomes disjointed and incoherent. This is what Master is saying. It becomes disjointed and incoherent. Same thing happens in mesmerism too, says the Master. Same thing happens to mesmerism, says the Master. And he also says the similar thing happens in clairvoyance, where clairvoyants move away when they remove their magnetic thoughts away from the subject on which they were perhaps concentrating and trying to look. So if they're moving away from that particular subject, the clairvoyance gets affected. So this is what Master is conveying this. So there's a bit of clairvoyance and bit of more of mental telegraphy or precipitation he talked about. All this in an attempt to say there is something which went wrong. So he will come to that bit later. In this particular instance, he's coming to the point. In this particular instance, I had in my mind the essence of the spiritualistic thought. I didn't know who said what, but then I had the essence of the spiritualistic thought, which was part of the speech at Lake Pleasant of the annual camp of the spiritualists. Right. I transferred the thoughts of spiritualist meeting more vividly than my remarks on the subject. So he only gathered those thoughts of the persons or somebody like Henry Kiddle and transferred those thoughts, and the other person was quite good at receiving them. So I perhaps was very vividly remembering what I heard from them. Not again who said what, but I heard from the spiritualists. I heard the words, all right, and I transferred those thoughts of the spiritualistic meeting more vividly than my remarks on the subject. I also said something on the whole thing that was not properly conveyed, he says. Mr. Kiddle's words came out clearly. Mr. Kiddle's words came out clearly, and my remarks were not quite visible because they were not well received. Perhaps the imprint was not very clear. So the remarks of mine were not quite visible. The process involves the recipient's mental photograph, The process involves the receipt of the mental photograph sent to Chela's brain. So Chela has to receive it, the thought photograph, and also transfer the thoughts onto the paper. So this is what the recipient has to do. As my remarks, KH's remarks, got transferred feebly, the remarks didn't go, only the spiritualistic thought went. Feebly, he, the Chela, could not precipitate my remarks, KH's remarks. So it looks like that I have lifted or plagiarized only the sentences of Mr. Kiddle. And my remarks were not accompanied those comments of the spiritualists. My remarks were feeble, so they were not accompanying the particular sentences of the so-called Henry Kiddle. Hence, reproduction of my remarks suffered. They were feeble. He did not receive it well. So my remarks were not reproduced well, as the Chela was as good as the attention he gave to the task. So he was only that much good. So he could not perhaps extend full support. So he says, my remarks suffered as the Chela was as good as the attention he gave to the task of reproducing and precipitating whatever he received, says Master KH. Master says, lot depends on the thought operator and the thought receiver. Lot depends on the thought operator and the thought receiver. Master KH says, as soon as I heard about this accusation of lifting the sentences and all that, I also received commotions and disturbances of my supporters through ether. I ordered for investigation, says Mr. Master KH. So he says, as soon as I heard about the accusation, and I also received certain disturbing factors coming out from my friends, supporters through ether, through thought process, I ordered for investigation, says Master KH. I asked for the original scraps of impression which the person received, which CL received. I realized I'm at fault. He's not putting the blame on the Chela. He says, I realized I'm at fault, not the Chela, says Master KH. This is the greatness of Master KH. He would have simply said, he didn't receive it well, what could I do? But he says, I'm at fault, not the Chela, says Master KH. When I read the letter as it was precipitated, I see that it is sounding differently. So when I read that letter as it was precipitated, I see that it is showing or sounding differently. I was surprised at the great discrepancy between the sentences. I have gone through the Occult World, the other magazine of the spiritualists, the edition and its page number 149 where this article appeared. And I realize there is a gap between para 1 and para 2, or part 1 and part 2, said to be plagiarized. There was no connection between the two parts. So in the magazine Occult World, which was sent to him, page 149, and also by examining the original scraps of paper which were precipitated, he could see that all that what he has dictated has not gone into the letter which got published in the Theosophist. So he says, I was surprised at the great discrepancy between sentences. I have gone through the Occult World, the edition, and the page number 149, and I realized there is a gap between part 1 and part 2, said to be copied or plagiarized. There was no connection between the two parts. Master says, you had trusted the Occult World. He's asking Mr. Sinnett. He's telling Mr. Sinnett. Master says to Sinnett, you have trusted the Occult World version that was sent to you. So that's why he's asking him, is it true? Is it possible that he has lifted the sentences? Because without explanation, he would think what he thinks is right. So he's saying, you have accepted the Occult World version. Had you seen carefully, Master says, APS could have noticed the gap and the glaring defect in connection between part 1 and part 2. Only if he has got the mind to see clearly, if he has got the intention to see clearly, AP Senate would do it, because he has already been prejudiced. He has only gone through the article which appeared in the Occult World. And so he's going by that. So where is the question of his seeing it right or seeing in the right perspective? That doesn't happen because he's already prejudiced. This is a problem. Prejudice says everything. And even if truth is something else, the prejudice will stop him from looking at the truth. So Master says, AP Senate has trusted the Occult World version more. That was sent to Mr. Master KH also by Mr. Senate. Had you seen carefully, had you seen with an open mind, Master says Senate could have noticed the gap that existed, the glaring defect in the connection between the part 1 and the part 2. So it was jumping. I believe there was no connection, means something which was supposed to be there in between was not there, or the imprint which was perhaps feeble did not get transcribed or did not get precipitated. So only things which were very, very strongly received by the Chela were part of the letter. So that's how the letter appeared. And Master was not expecting the letter would get published, but I don't know. The editor also went through, the editor of our Theosophist, he also printed it. And then there was hue and cry. Senate, Master is saying, you valued your personal friendships more. This is what Master is saying. You think your friends in the other circle of spiritualists are more closer to you. So you value your personal friendships more as you are not focused on the writer, KH. So you think little bit not so well on me, but you are trusting the other persons more. So you are not thinking great of Master KH, or at least giving him due position of what he is capable of. So you are more concerned with your personal friendships and you are not focused on the writer, that is KH. That way of looking, that false way of looking with more stress on the friends' opinions, on the opinions which are expressed by the magazines or the spiritualists, they have blinded you. They have blinded you to the discrepancy and the disconnection which is there between the two paths. So you couldn't see because you're prejudiced. You perhaps are almost on the verge of deciding, yes, Master KH has lifted these words. So Epistemic believed the friend's version more than KH's writings. This is what KH is saying. After receiving so many letters from Master KH, and he has helped him also to write the book Esoteric Buddhism and all that. But still, Master feels that his Senate is not up to the mark as far as understanding him is concerned. Master says he never had the habit of reading his own letters. Master, if he writes a letter, he will not go through the letter, what he has written all by himself, what he has written or what he has conveyed. So he says, I never read my own letters. Anytime, never I have gone through my letters. This was my mistake or sin. He says, this was my mistake or sin, because the investigation proved, if I had read all the scraps properly when my chela asked me, this problem wouldn't have arisen. But I didn't have time because I was traveling on the horseback and reached, I was tired and all that. So I thought only a few words were missing, but then a lot of sentences were missing. A lot of remarks which I made on those sentences were missing. Because of the investigation, and after reading the original scraps and your own original matter which appeared in the magazines as sent by you, I realize my folly. What I have not done, or what together me and my chela have not done. But now, says the Master, I ask you to read. I'm asking you to read. Don't say anything to me, but just simply read the passages as they're originally dictated by me. He's asking, you examine what I have dictated in toto to my chela and read those things again carefully as originally dictated by me. Originally dictated by means the things which have not come into the form of a letter also have to be read by Mr. Sinnett and make a comparison of what appeared in the Occult World magazine, and then you would perhaps know what is what. So Master is trying to say that he remarked against or remarked on the contents of the lecture of the American spiritualists, but those sentences which he remarked were not there, but the other sentences which he picked up by hearing only. He never knew who spoke the sentences, because he says, I don't know that Henry too well, so I don't know, but I'm charged of this lifting of the sentences and words. So this is something which has happened, and I have explained to you the entire process of precipitation, how it happened, how I was riding on a horseback and all that. So he says one has to be quite open to understand what exactly is the circumstances under which this has happened. So Master KH, when he says, I perceived your disturbance. See, like Lipikas, perhaps they record everything which we do, the thoughts, the actions, and everything which we do. Even Master, if you're on his radar, he will also know exactly what all we are thinking of, what all we are doing. So one has to be very, very, really careful if one thinks that he has to become a good student, at least of the Master. So this is perhaps one lesson which we get out of this. And jumping to conclusions, not going deep, not allowing the ideas to sink, and simply saying, yes, this could be the only way in which it could have happened. That perhaps is something which a wise man will not do. So allow the ideas to sink, reflect on them, compare the other one, and then perhaps one would come across what is truth, what is real. So this is important. And he has done his best to explain, but then he doesn't want these people, God and Mr. Senate, to go and tell those spiritualists, because anyway they will not believe, or they will not even think in terms of, because they have very poor opinion about Master KH and Master N, and even about TS. So this is the crux of the part which I have chosen today, 93. Some more 4 or 5 more pages is there of that letter 93. So over to Madam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your time and the explanation of this letter. I'm sure it'll bring a lot of clarity and help the members who are seriously interested in studying the Mahatma letters. I will now request Sister Meenakshi ji to give us the translation in Hindi.
नमस्ते, थैंक यू सिस्टर, थैंक यू ब्रदर कृष्णा जी। आज हम क्रोनोलॉजिकल लेटर नंबर 117 ले रहे हैं, जो कि मास्टर के HAP सीनेट को लिखते हैं। यह पत्र किडल इंसिडेंट से संबंधित है। मास्टर सीनेट से कहते हैं कि माय गुड एंड फेथफुल फ्रेंड, यहाँ जो स्पष्टीकरण दिया गया है वह कभी भी नहीं दिया गया होता, लेकिन मैंने हाल ही में देखा है कि आप अपने कुछ मित्रों के साथ, खासकर सीसी मैसी के साथ साहित्यिक चोरी पर बातचीत के दौरान कितने परेशान थे। और जब मुझे आपका आखिरी पत्र मिला जिसमें आपने इस पीड़ादायी किडल इंसिडेंट पर लिखा, तब आपसे सच्चाई को छिपाना क्रूरता होती। फिर भी इसे पूर्वग्रह दूषित और दुर्भावना से प्रवृत्त अध्यात्मवादियों की दुनिया को बताना सरासर मूर्खता होगी। इसलिए हमें समझौता करना होगा। मुझे आपसे और मिस्टर गॉड, जिन पर मेरा विश्वास है, दोनों से वचन लेना होगा कि मेरी विशेष अनुमति के बिना मेरे द्वारा बताए गए तथ्यों को कभी भी किसी को समझाएंगे नहीं, यहाँ तक कि MA ऑक्सॉन और सीसी मैसी को भी नहीं, उन कारणों की वजह से जिसका मैं अब उल्लेख करूंगा और आप जिसे आसानी से समझ पाएंगे। यदि उनमें से किसी के द्वारा दबाव डाला जाता है तो आप बस यह उत्तर दे सकते हैं कि वह साइकोलॉजिकल मिस्ट्री है, आपके और कुछ अन्य लोगों के लिए स्पष्ट हो गया था। और इस बात से संतुष्ट होने पर यह भी जोड़ दे सकते हैं कि पैरेलल पैसेजेस को साहित्यिक चोरी या इस तरह के शब्द नहीं दिए जा सकते हैं। जो कुछ भी कहना है इसकी मैं आपको पूरी छूट देता हूँ, यहाँ तक कि मैं आम जनता और लंदन के अधिकांश मेंबर से सच्चाई क्यों छिपाना चाहता हूँ, सिवाय विवरणों के बाकी सब कुछ केवल आप और कुछ अन्य लोग ही जानेंगे। जब तक कि आप किसी भी संदेह से परे स्वयं को आश्वस्त नहीं करते और स्वयं उस स्पष्टीकरण को अच्छी तरह से समझ नहीं लेते, मैं आपको अपनी प्रतिष्ठा बचाने के लिए भी बाध्य नहीं करूँ। और अब मैं आपको बता सकता हूँ कि मैं आपके मित्रों द्वारा अगली साहित्यिक चोरी करने वाला माना जाना क्यों चुनता हूँ। विरोधकों द्वारा बार बार मिथ्या हेतुवादी, मिथक और एक अशिक्षित, बुद्धिहीन, जड़ बुद्धि कहे जाने के कारण मैं नहीं चाहता कि मेरे झूठे मित्रों द्वारा मुझे एक जानबूझकर चालाक व्यक्ति और झूठा माना जाना चाहिए। मैं स्वयं इस मुद्दे के प्रति उदासीन हूँ, लेकिन आपके और सोसाइटी के लिए मैं इसके क्षितिज पर के घनघोर बादलों में से एक को दूर करने का एक और प्रयास कर सकता हूँ। एक कथित एडेप्ट जो अपने छोटे से पौर्वत्य मस्तिष्क से प्लेटो के सुयोग्य विचार या शब्द निकालने में असमर्थ था, इसलिए बैनर ऑफ लाइट पत्रिका के गहन तत्वज्ञान की ओर उसने रुख किया और उसमें से अपने उलझे हुए विचारों को व्यक्त करने के लिए सबसे उपयुक्त वाक्य निकाले जो मिस्टर हेनरी किडल के नहीं बोले थे। ऐसा आरोप मास्टर पर लगाया गया है। वे कहते हैं कि KH जो भी वह है, उन्होंने मिस्टर किडल के पैसेजेस को चुराया है। इतना ही नहीं, बल्कि एक उलझे हुए पाठक की तरह अपने अलग उद्देश्य पूर्ति के लिए उसने अयोग्य लगने वाले शब्दों को छोड़कर उद्धृत किए गए विचारों को इतना विकृत कर दिया है कि वे मूल उद्देश्य से भिन्न हो गए हैं। जिस पत्र को लेकर चर्चा हो रही है उसे मैंने एक यात्रा के दौरान घोड़े पर बैठकर तैयार किया था, ऐसा मास्टर सीनेट से कहते हैं। यह मानसिक रूप से एक युवा चेले को निर्देशित किया गया था और उसके द्वारा प्रक्षेपित किया गया था, जो साइकिक केमिस्ट्री की शाखा में माहिर नहीं था और जिसे इसे मुश्किल से दिखाई देने वाली धुंधली सी छाप से लिखना था। इसलिए इसका आधा हिस्सा छोड़ दिया गया और बाकी आधा हिस्सा चेला द्वारा थोड़ा बहुत अव्यवस्थित कर दिया गया। उस समय जब उसने मुझसे पूछा होता कि मैं सॉरी उस समय जब उसने मुझसे पूछा कि मैं इसे देखना चाहूंगा और ठीक करना चाहूंगा, मैं मान्य करता हूँ कि मैंने विचार किए बिना कहा कि यह चल जाएगा। अगर आप कुछ एक शब्द छोड़ भी देते हैं तो यह कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है। मैं लगातार 48 घंटे की यात्रा से शारीरिक रूप से बहुत थक गया था और आधी नींद में था। इसके अलावा मानसिक रूप से बहुत महत्वपूर्ण काम निपटाना था और इसीलिए उस पत्र को ध्यान देने के लिए मेरे पास बहुत कम समय बचा था। जब मैं उठा तो मैंने पाया कि यह पहले ही भेजा जा चुका था और चूंकि मैं तब इसके प्रकाशन की यानी पुस्तक के में प्रकाशन की उम्मीद नहीं कर रहा था, इसीलिए मैंने उस समय इसके बारे में कभी सोचा नहीं। मैंने कभी भी मिस्टर किडल का चेहरा मोहरा नहीं देखा था, उनके बारे में सुना नहीं था, उनके नाम से अवगत नहीं था। अमेरिकी अध्यात्मवादियों के मामले में मैं पीछे की ओर जाता हुआ पाया। मैंने अपना ध्यान अमेरिकी अध्यात्मवादियों के बड़े वार्षिक शिविर से लगभग 2 महीने पहले विभिन्न दिशाओं में लगाया था, जिनमें से कुछ लेक माउंट प्लेजेंट की ओर था। अमेरिकी अध्यात्मवादियों की सर्वसाधारण आशाओं और आकांक्षाओं को दर्शाने वाले कुछ निराले विचार और वाक्य मेरी स्मृति में अंकित हो गए और मुझे केवल ये विचार और अलग थलग वाक्य ही याद रहे। मैं उस व्याख्याता के बारे में पूरी तरह से अनभिज्ञ था, जिससे मैंने अनजाने में छल किया, जैसा कि ऐसा प्रतीत होता है, और जो अब हो हल्ला मचा रहा है। आगे मास्टर कहते हैं कि साइकिक रिसर्च सोसाइटी के हाल ही के प्रयोगों से आपको इस मेंटल टेलीग्राफी के मूल कारण को समझने में बहुत मदद मिलेगी। आपने उनके जर्नल में देखा होगा कि विचार स्थानांतरण एक साथ कैसे प्रभावित होते हैं। ज्यामितीय या अन्य आकृति की छवि जो भेजने वाले के सक्रिय मस्तिष्क पर अंकित होती है, वह क्रमशः अक्रिय प्राप्तकर्ता के ग्रहण करने वाले मस्तिष्क पर अंकित होती है। एकदम सही और तुरंत होने वाली मेंटल टेलीग्राफी उत्पन्न करने के लिए दो बातों की या कारकों की आवश्यकता होती है। ऑपरेटर में गहरी एकाग्रता और प्राप्त करने वाले रीडर में पूर्ण ग्रहणशीलता और अक्रियता। किसी भी प्रकार की बाधा से परिणाम उतना ही अपूर्ण होता है। मेरे जैसे मामले में चेले को उस करंट से जो वह उठा सकता था उसे उठाना था जो मैं उसे भेज रहा था, और जैसे कि ऊपर उल्लेखित किया गया है, बिखरे हुए टुकड़ों को जितना संभव हो सके उतना जोड़ना था। सम्मोहन और क्लेयरवॉयंस में भी ऐसा ही होता है, ऐसा मास्टर कहते हैं। आगे मास्टर कहते हैं कि यदि प्राप्त मानसिक चित्र अस्पष्ट है तो उसका दृश्य प्रतिरूप उसके समान होना चाहिए, चेले द्वारा कागज पर हस्तांतरित विचार के अवक्षेपण के समान। जैसे ही मैंने दोषारोपण के बारे में सुना, मैंने विचार के छापों के मूल अंशों की जांच का आदेश दिया। पहले ही नजर में मैंने देखा कि मैं ही एकमात्र और सबसे दोषी हूँ। चेला न केवल अ, चेला ने न केवल वही किया जो उसे बताया गया था, चेला ने केवल वही किया जो उसे बताया गया था। द ऑकल्ट वर्ल्ड की प्रत को देखे तो उद्धृत पृष्ठ पर ध्यान से पढ़ने के बाद मैं वाक्यों के बीच बहुत बड़ी विसंगति से अचंभित था। पार्ट 1 और पार्ट 2 तथाकथित साहित्यिक चोरी वाले भाग के बीच विचारों का अंतर कहा जा सकता है। दोनों के बीच कोई संबंध नहीं लगता है। मुझे डर है कि यह केवल लेखक के लिए आपकी व्यक्तिगत मित्रता ही है जिसने आपको इस असफल अवक्षेपण में विचारों की विसंगति और असंबद्धता के प्रति अंधा बना दिया है। अन्यथा आप यह समझने में विफल नहीं हो सकते थे कि उस पृष्ठ पर कुछ गलती थी, कि वाक्यों के संबंध में लक्षणीय दोष था। इसके अलावा मुझे एक और अपराध के लिए दोषी होना पड़ेगा। मैंने कभी भी अपने पत्रों को छापित रूप में नहीं देखा, दोषारोपण के जांच के दिन तक नहीं। लेकिन अब मुझे आपसे अनुरोध करना है कि आप उन अंशों को वैसे ही पढ़ें जैसे वे मूल रूप से मेरे द्वारा बताए गए थे, और आपके सामने मौजूद ऑकल्ट वर्ल्ड के साथ तुलना करें। थैंक यू। नमस्ते।
Thank you, Meenakshi ji. Thank you for this very nice translation in Hindi. And now the participants they are they may ask their doubts or questions, or if there is any point of discussion, you are most welcome. Any questions? In fact, this letter brings out the process or the method by which the letters were precipitated, one of the methods. Anybody would like more information on that, or anything you want to discuss? Okay. So as there are no questions forthcoming, I think we can conclude the session for today. And sir, I think you will continue for another 1 or 2 sessions to complete this letter and the next 2. So with this, we bring our session to a close with a closing prayer. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु, सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु, सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु, सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु, लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु, सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। Namaste and thank you all for joining.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.